As I previously reported to you guys, the Burning Man victim has been identified as a Russian man by the name of Vadim Kruglov. But at the time of this recording, the suspect has still not been found. In fact, law enforcement doesn't even know who the suspect is, and the suspect could be literally anywhere in the world right now, because the people who attended the Burning Man Festival are not all from America. In fact, there were people there from over 72 different countries. So, law enforcement and investigators, they're having a tough job right now. But luckily, they do have a few leads, and people are starting to talk. Vadim's father recently spoke out in a video. I showed you guys that yesterday. Go check it out if you haven't already. But he's demanding justice. Also, some witnesses have now come forward claiming that they heard noises coming from Vadim's tent, as well as they saw some strange man acting unhinged that night who mentioned that he needed to clean blood out of his RV. So the police now have something to work with. And now some of Vadim's friends are also speaking out. But this is where things get really weird, at least for me. Like, I am legit freaked out right now because this is playing out like the plot of a horror movie. I kid you not, I feel like I've seen a movie just like this before, but I cannot remember the name. Now, if you've been following the case, you know that for days on end, police were trying to identify this victim, but they could not because no one would say anything. Everyone was keeping their mouth shut. But the very moment they identified the victim as Vadim Kruglov, all of these people from Burning Man crawled out of the woodworks to pretend like they were so sad and so upset. Meanwhile, they didn't help the police identify him. No, the police had to identify him through fingerprints because no one would talk. But as soon as they identified him, you had these people from Burning Man, including organizers and higher up people in Burning Man. You had these people coming forward talking about how great Vadim was. They said that he was a pillar of Burning Man, that he gave his heart and soul to Burning Man. They spoke of him so highly as if he was like this high-ranking Burner Man guy that goes there every year, right? And it was weird to me because all of a sudden this guy has tons of friends. Everyone loves him, but no one wanted to help the police identify him. None of y'all realized your friend, the pillar of Burning Man who gave his heart and soul to Burning Man, none of y'all realized he was missing or dead? Really weird. Only after the police identified him did these people start speaking out. But guess what I just found out? This was the first time Vadim ever went to Burning Man. They were talking about him like, oh my God, he's the heart and soul. He's the pillar. He's so great. This was the first year that he ever went to Burning Man. So now I'm questioning, why were they talking so highly of him? It's kind of freaky if you ask me. Were they trying to throw cops off their trails? I'm not saying that's the case, but it's like this weird cult-like thing. You got to come forward and be all happy and be all fake spiritual and, oh my God, Vadim was so great. When in reality, this is the first time he ever went to the festival. So that right there, learning that detail, it really threw me off because they spoke of him as if he's like a regular that has been going there for years. But here's where things get fishy. You see, Vadim Kruglov, he's a Russian guy who was living in Tacoma, Washington. All of his family is like back in Russia, back overseas in various places, right? So this guy was alone. He didn't have a wife, no kids, no family, from a different country, probably looking for friends, looking for a community to fit in with. And apparently, he kind of got recruited into a group of burners that live in Seattle. Burners are people who go to Burning Man. Even after the Burning Man festival, these people still act weird. They identify by like their special Burning Man names, and they hang out in groups of only burners. Like, you might be hanging out in Washington, Burning Man's not going on. You could be in New York or California, but your friend group will only consist of like this cult of like people who go to Burning Man. So somewhere along the way, we got this Russian living in Tacoma, Washington. He's kind of interested in art, and he kind of gets recruited into this Burning Man crew, this Seattle Burning Man crew, right? And they're so friendly with him. They're so nice with him, yada, yada, yada. And they're trying to convince him to go to Burning Man. And he's like, I'm probably not going to go. Then at the last minute, he decides to go along with his friends' cult to Burning Man, right? Now, these same friends who accepted him in, these people kind of became his family, because you got to remember, from a foreign country, doesn't have a wife, doesn't have a kids, doesn't have anybody. So these burners became his new family. Along the way, they convinced him to go to Burning Man. Last minute, he decides to go. And we know what happens from there. He gets murdered. And this whole little cult of Burning Man friends who are now speaking out, they all left him behind. They knew he was missing. They knew they couldn't find him. They knew that someone got murdered at Burning Man. All of these people packed up their RVs, they packed up their little hippie tents, and they went back to the hell where they came from without Vadim, without knowing what happened to Vadim. So it's like they kind of lured him into their little cult-like family of burners, convinced him to go to this festival. He gets murdered at the festival, and they don't even think twice. They just leave and go home. And now they're speaking out about it from the comfort of their own homes, as if they didn't just leave someone who was supposed to be their family behind, dead or missing in the middle of the desert. I want to go ahead and read a little more info, though, because we got a little more, deeper details. I'll flesh out what's going on here for you really quickly. But first, if you guys enjoy the channel, if you like the videos, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you drop a comment. Share the video so other people can see it. And if you really support the channel, if you really like the videos, you can always donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. Always greatly appreciated. Now, with that being said, let's dive into some more of these details. Friends say that Kroglov was an artist living in Tacoma, Washington, but he often missed his hometown and family in Omsk, Russia. Vlad Pegin said Kroglov was an active participant of the Burning Man community in Seattle. He decided to come last minute, Pegin said. This was his first burn. Pegin added, although he wasn't married and had no kids, he built a family everywhere he went. In Seattle, he was embraced by a large and loving Burning Man community. And in New York, he made countless friends who treasured his presence. I want to pause right there. So the guy even mentions, his friend even mentioned, so he didn't have a family, didn't have a wife, or didn't have kids, but he made family wherever he went. We're his family. The Seattle Burners, we're his family. Sure, we left him missing and dead in the middle of the desert, and we didn't tell anybody anything until after the cops already found out. But he's family to us. And you see, he also had burner family out in New York. So in all of these big cities, there's these Burning Man communities. So people often make the mistake of thinking that, you have that festival and that's it. That's not the case. And that's why I've been telling people since day one of this story that I have weird feelings about Burning Man, because there's more to Burning Man than people know. There's definitely, in my opinion, a demonic, satanic aspect to it all, regardless if the people going know it or not. And yeah, there's this whole cult-like aspect to where a lot of people who go to Burning Man speak about how their circles become really small, and before they know it, they're only really interacting with other burners who go to Burning Man. And that was what was going on with Vadim. He thought he had this extended family in Seattle and New York, and these people really cared about him. They all convinced him to go to this festival, and as all of these little cult members are crowded around, burning the Burning Man effigy in the middle of the desert, somehow, some way, Vadim is getting murdered in his tent. A festival that he wasn't going to go to, that he only decided to go to last minute, because all of these people encouraged him to go, but they were not there for him when he was getting killed, and they weren't there for him afterwards. But now they're speaking highly of him from home. It's so disgusting to me. But let's go ahead and go forward. Pegan said Kruglov designed and helped construct a massive art installation that he called Heart with Rays. Some of the last pictures the art took were in front of his installation before he disappeared Saturday. The 2-week festival ended on Monday. Burning Man, which is known for its celebration of anarchist and counterculture values, draws 70 to 80,000 people annually, and some burners do participate in open drug use at the playa. In another video, Vadim's father said he wanted to dispel rumors that his son was somehow involved with or took drugs during the festival. The artist's friends also said that Vadim was not known to take any drugs. I want to make an official statement to preempt any rumors or distortion of information. My son was incredibly honest and a great person. I will not allow anyone to tarnish his reputation with false claims of drug connections or anything else. Let's pause right there. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be mean. Maybe this guy is just a sober guy, but if you're at Burning Man, it's safe to assume that you're not sober. It's very safe to assume that you're not sober. And even if Vadim is sober by some miracle, the people around him aren't. His friends, the suspect, I don't think anyone around him is sober. So, I mean, this is kind of pointless. This is not the hill to die on. My son was not involved in drugs at all, or my friend wasn't involved in drugs at all. He's at Burning Man. Everyone knows what goes down at Burning Man. So I just feel like that's not the hill to die on, regardless if it's true or not. I don't know if that matters much in the grand scheme of things, but let's go ahead and go forward. Kruglov's friends set up a GoFundMe to help with costs to transport his body to his hometown and other funeral costs. Vadim was the kind of person who would strike up conversation with anyone, Piggin said. Always smiling and always in good spirits, he radiated warmth and kindness. He was social, creative, respectful, and endlessly generous with his time and energy. He added, at Burning Man, he threw himself wholeheartedly into helping his camp, building, creating art, and sharing his joy with everyone around him. His excitement was contagious, and he filled his social media with photos of his beaming smile and the adventures he was so proud to be a part of. A woman who claimed she worked with Kruglov in 2014 for 2 airline companies said the Russian native had always dreamed of coming to America. During this last year, every time he called, he said how tired he was and how much he wanted to return home to Russia, the woman wrote in her tribute. My God, who would have known that he would return to Russia in such a different state? We're all heartbroken, and grieving deeply. So all of these friends, they all say such nice things about Vadim. And yeah, you should say nice things about your friends if they pass away. So it's not like I'm sitting over here like, oh my God, how dare you say nice things about this guy? My thing is, if this guy is so great, he's so helpful, he's so generous, he's so this, he's so that, how did y'all repay him? How did y'all repay your friend Vadim? Y'all repaid him by leaving him missing and dead in the middle of the desert. That's how y'all repaid him. So knowing how this ended, knowing how this was handled in the long run, it really makes me rewind time and go back to the beginning. It really makes me wonder, why were y'all so thirsty? Why did y'all need Vadim to go to Burning Man so badly? If y'all were just going to discard him once he got there and leave him missing, dead in the middle of the desert. What was the need to get him to go out there so badly? And maybe there's nothing to this at all. I want to be clear here. I'm not telling you what to think, but I'm simply exploring some possibilities here, right? Because when I look at Vadim, I see someone who is vulnerable. You got a man from a different country, hasn't been here that long. He doesn't really have anyone. He doesn't know anyone here. And obviously, from how they describe him, he was such a bright, loving person. He was looking for acceptance. He was looking for some sense of family. And these burners, they filled that void for him. And seeing how vulnerable he is, it makes me think, oh, he's a vulnerable target. Like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, these burners are part of a cult that want to sacrifice someone at Burning Man as they burn down their effigy. Let's just say that's the case. I'm not saying it is the case, but let's just say it's the case. Someone like Vadim would be a good, easy target. A nice guy, unfamiliar with his surroundings, that has no one to talk to, no one to fall back on, no one to back him up, no family, no friends, no one at all. So it's just like when you look at it, it's like, oh, this guy would be an easy target to kind of bring in and then do something crazy to in the long run. And I'm not saying that's the case. Maybe that's a little too far out there, but it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. Because Burning Man is not just like your average festival. It's not like a music festival. Yes, music is played, but it's not just like a music festival. There's a spiritual and, like I said, I believe demonic and satanic aspect to some of what goes down out there. And if you think it's far-fetched that people would sacrifice someone, I bring this up in every video, people sacrifice themselves at Burning Man all the time. People literally throw themselves in fires at Burning Man. All types of weird and wild stuff happens out there, most of which you will never hear about it because they're very good at covering things up, and the people there are very good at being quiet, which is why law enforcement could not identify Vadim for the longest, despite the fact that he had such a loving, friendly, fun community of burners that all accepted him. From Seattle to New York, they all knew Vadim, they all loved him, but no one could help the cops identify him. No one even told the cops that he was missing. They talked amongst themselves, not to the cops. So yeah, when I'm looking at this, it feels like something from like the Hostel movies or something. It definitely feels icky. And regardless, even if this is not a big plot, and I'm sure it's not a big plot to sacrifice this guy, regardless of what this is, Vadim felt loved and accepted by a group of friends that convinced him to go to this festival, and in the long run, they left him dead out there in the sand, in the mud, missing, and went home carefree. And then talked about what a great guy he was from the comfort of their air conditioning once they got back home, without helping the cops at all while they were there. So the mystery continues. And I guess it's up to you to figure out what you want to believe. As far as I go, I don't know what to believe here, but I do know that people failed Vadim. I don't trust any of these people. I think they're all shady. I think Burning Man is shady. And I'm hoping that maybe this and some other things that are piling up, maybe they'll put an end to this festival once and for all. Because I don't see much good coming out of it. But you let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.